How's it going, guys? Upper body session number one. And as you can hear, how jubilant my voice is. I trained at a much more reasonable time, a time that I am normally used to training in the morning as opposed to training in the evening. So today's session, I had to modify it because for some weird and strange reason, my wrist was playing up last night, and unfortunately, it's carried over to this morning. So instead of going to plan where I was only meant to do one top set followed by a few back off sets, I decided to just go for three singles, meaning three sets of one rep at 140 kilos. I would like to have gone heavier than this, but I just settled for this for now. Just kind of seeing what I can do despite not being at 100%, and just seeing my pain tolerance as well with my wrist. So thankfully, 140 kilos were fine for three sets, and every single set just looked as good as the last. So that was the main thing. So hopefully this week, I'll be looking at why my wrist is hurting and just focusing on the exercises that my physio had me do in the past to then keep on top of that. Then we get on to my last back off set. So we're just going a little bit lighter here again, just focusing on form and speed, just trying to reinforce all the things that I want to work on when the weight gets heavier. Accessories. So as you know, this week is all about accessories. So we have the seated plate loaded shoulder press, another movement that we wanted to keep into the program, and a movement that I've actually been enjoying of recent, even though in my previous videos I said that I kind of got to not necessarily a plateau, but I've got close to the ceiling of this movement, and I just feel like the more I do it, hopefully I'll also then start to see those strength gains and also progress further, as opposed to kind of just hitting that ceiling and then, just completely disregarding it, as opposed to actually just trying to stay persistent with that movement. Then we have the dumbbell incline chest press. Now, I've noticed, especially when I'm doing pretty much two push movements back to back, that I am nowhere near as strong. So I'm trying to take this as, I don't want to say moderately, but I'm trying to progress as much as I can. Because especially when I do a lot of push movements back to back, um, especially at the start, my body fatigues really, really quickly. Whereas this week, or today's session rather, I didn't really feel that much fatigue. I felt like I was a lot more stronger and my body was adapting to it. So I definitely want to progress with these movements a little bit more. Then we have a very common and popular powerlifting move here, which is the rolling dumbbell tricep. So the aim here is to work with a load that I can actually push more weight because I have more momentum in the movement. So it's a really good way to train up the triceps, especially when it comes to lifting heavier loads. Then we have some isolation work just to build up that chest. So you have the pec deck. Now on this, as you can see, the range of motion is big, and this is probably the one thing that I kind of like, because at the time when I used to see Mike Israetel, when I used to see a lot of his content, he was really big on range of motion. And once I kind of apply that to my own training with regards to moving through as much of a range as I can, I definitely noticed that my joints were a lot more, I say healthier, but I was just able to move more freely and didn't feel too stiff. So I kind of wanted to, keep up that ability to move through as much range as I can. Then we have the seated face pulls, again, another staple of my programming. And every week we also reduce the amount of repetitions that I do so we can manage volume better that way. Even though, of course, the less that I do in terms of reps, I'm going to counter that by increasing the repetitions. Then on this part here, I wanted to edit this out, but I'm going to be honest with you guys. So this was my last set of bicep curls. So I was doing a superset, and you'll see here I fell very, very early. I kind of overshot in this one and went a bit too heavy, but I just could not be bothered to scour the gym and find the weights that I would rather use. So this is actually my first set, and you will see that I had much more reps in the tank once I was a bit more fresh. But yeah, trying to do this weight for two sets of 12 reps was, a bit of a push. Now, You'll notice that the back of my elbows are literally relaxing onto the pads where your knees go under for the lat pull down. And I really like this because of the fact that you can kind of isolate your bicep that much more. And by leaning back as well, you've increased the lever. So my muscles are in a much more almost disadvantaged to pull the weight from the ground and bring it up to my shoulders. So I'm working for a greater range of motion, therefore working my muscles even harder. So that's one key thing that you can add to your bicep curl. So thanks for watching, guys. Like, share, subscribe.